this is the old Wilson Pickett song, Midnight Hour. And, I'd have to research it. I'm not sure who wrote it, but Steve Cropper, brilliant guitarist who played with the Booker T and the MGs, and he was a studio musician at Stax Records in Memphis. I believe wrote the horn parts. We're kind of doing the horn parts in the beginning. And it's the guitar part too. Normally you would play full bar chords like. But we're just doing root fifth chords. We're going to build up to bar chords later on. And the more important thing is to get the rhythm, which is a little bit offbeat, and some of the difficult things. Now, this is a lot like that rock riff and chords that we've done recently, which was really kind of fashioned after Midnight Hour in the book. It was my own concoction because I don't have to worry about copyright because I wrote it. But it's really kind of based on this Midnight Hour to be at the same, and that's the one that went like. And then that was the end. But it's very similar to this in that we're doing a variety of rhythms and we're doing some tricky chord changes, but they're all the same shape. Root fifth chords. Some of them are on the fifth string, some are on the sixth string. So you just, we think of this as Fifth Street and this is Sixth Street. But it's the same shape, it's like, moving the same house, So the rhythm in the beginning, it's good to just hit an open string and count the rhythm. We're doing all downstrokes, so it's like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So if you're just counting quarter notes, don't count all the ands. Like you could do that. You could go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But what you want to do eventually is try to get to where you're thinking of the rhythm on both the quarter note level and the eighth note level at the same time. Like if I'm just playing the quarter notes, like if I'm just playing the fifth string open, 1, 2, 3, 4. A good exercise is to play quarter notes but count eighth notes, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then play eighth notes with your pick, but count quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That way you're forced to focus on both quarter note level and eighth note level at the same time. And and then try to switch back and forth, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm counting eighth notes when I'm playing quarter notes, and I'm counting quarter notes when I'm playing eighth notes. And so what I would suggest with this one, when you just have quarter notes, like on the first two beats, it's just quarter notes, 1, 2, and then when you have the eighth notes, count the ands, 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. So that way you're not cluttering up with a lot of counting that could actually make you sluggish and slow you down. So anyway, again, the rhythm, I'll just do the first 4 measures because they're tricky, and actually the third and fourth measures has an extra tie in it. So anyway, it goes like this. I'm just playing an open string and counting. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and, sorry, let me do it again. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So you have that 2 and tie and 4 at the end of that first line. And so now the tricky thing about these chords is that really quick chord change on the fourth beat of the first measure. You're doing 5th fret chord going to a 2nd fret chord, but you're changing on the very last 8th note of the measure and then doing the tie. Like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So think of that as 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. So you're hitting and 1. You want to just count the beat because you're not really doing 8th notes on that first beat. You're not even playing the first beat. You're tying into it. So that's a tricky change physically to do. Plus the syncopated rhythm is a little tricky there. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And if you're muting the 6th string, which you should be, and muting the first 3 strings, you don't have to worry about just hitting that pair of strings. Just strum right, brush right through it with your pick. I'm hitting the 6th string most of the time, but I'm muting it so you don't hear it, And get to know the sound of that rhythm. It's kind of, you want to make sure you listen to the actual song, the Wilson Pickett version of Midnight Hour. There's probably other versions, but he's the one that had the hit, And Steve Cropper was playing on that session, but anyway. And then the second part, the 3rd and 4th measures, you've got 6-string chords, and it's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So you have that same chord change in the same place on that last 8th note of the measure. It's not as big. It's not a big a jump as the first chord change was. We're only going 2 frets. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4. We have that extra tie in there. Okay, and now the riff is pretty straightforward. It's 0-0-4-2, 0-0-4-2. It's like the same thing moved across the street, back and forth. You're on 6th Street, then 5th Street, 6th Street, 5th Street, and you keep going. Then the 4th measure, you got 0-0-4-0, and you say, well, why not go 0-0-4-2? But that open string gives you time, and I devised that just for you, to give you time to get up to the 7th fret. And we had a similar thing in that rock chords and riff, where we had to jump, we had one open string to get up to the 7th fret. So you're going along, 0-4-0, and when you play the O, you should already be at the 7th fret, ready to get into the chord. So it's as if, and you might be tempted to play the note and then shift, but you're going to be late if you do that. So you want to shift right when you hit that open string. 0-0-4 shift. Now you don't have to have the chord fingered yet. Just get up in the right where the 7th fret is, so you just go down on the chord. So it's good to practice 0-0-4 shift, and do it again, 0-0-4 shift, and do it faster, 0-0-4 shift, and then maybe go ahead and try that chord. See? But you don't want to be just gradually coming up to that 7th fret. And always keep your eye on the target. So when I'm down here, I'm already looking at the 7th fret with my eye. So I know, because if I look at this fret, I can bring my finger right up to it and stop. But if I'm looking at my fingers, the frets are all a blur. And then you end up going, oh, wait a minute, oh, here it is. You know, and by then you're late. You know, you're not on time, and you're having to put a little hiccup or a pause between your chord changes. So you want to nail that chord. That's a big shift. It's 5 frets. You're going from the 2nd to the 7th fret. That's 5 frets. And that's shifting is one of the hardest things to do on the guitar well. You know, there's a lot of pitfalls in shifting. When you shift, don't crunch all your fingers. Don't try to cheat the shift and angle in. Move everything as if it should look as if you had not shifted. Your hand should look just as cool and comfortable up here as it was down here. See, you don't want to crunch them all up, you know, like it's not like a car hitting a wall and crunching like a Coke can, you know. It's like, that's not a very good, you know, analogy probably, but I'm moving the whole plate of spaghetti. I'm moving my thumb, my arm, my fingers, and I'm keeping it on the same plane. It's real easy to angle as you shift. There's all kinds of things that you can do to try to cheat the shift, but basically you have to be here and then you have to be here. And it's always good to look ahead before you shift. Look before you leap, right? And so anyway, that's most of what we need to talk about. I think also when you're here, and we've talked about this before, when you have an open string and you're changing a couple of frets, don't take both fingers off the chord. You don't want to do that. You want to keep the 3rd finger on as a guide finger and let it slide. Then you move them both back. Take the 1st finger off. Sorry. And then I think that's the only thing to talk about. At the very end, it's just like the intro, except it's got that extra tie. And then, yeah, we should talk about the ending. On that ending, the rhythm is 1 and 2 and rest, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. And so you're doing a little lick, 1 and 2. Actually, you'll have your 1st finger on that, and it's 1st finger, O, and you can just plant your pick on the 6th string to cut it. So it's like 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. And on that last chord, I would use 2 fingers. Don't just bar it, because you might end up barring an extra string, and that'll be kind of a jazz chord that we don't want to hear. We just want to hear 3 strings and try to mute the other 3 just by laying the 1st finger, or the 2nd finger can kind of touch the 3rd string. But so you're going along playing the riff, rest, and again, we're like coming up to a stop sign. We're not going to just drive up at 50 miles an hour and stop on a dime. We're going to slow down as we approach that stop sign, and that's the ending. You can take more time if you want, and just bum, 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 bum. It's like a wheel slowing down. Ritardando, we call that in classical music. Okay, so that's Midnight Hour. I'll just play it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4.